Bob. No fire here tonight, is there? Is it gonna get hot here tonight?
I saw you all over Facebook with your uniform on for Westminster. Fire?
Was he posing?
No.
You gotta get those glamour shots.
Yeah. Following the photographer around. No.
Glamour shots?
Hey everyone. Alright, well it's 6:30 and we'll open the meeting. So as always, just please know that we're being broadcast live and digitally recorded. Okay? Is anyone here for open session? Open session? Nobody? Okay, none? Alright, we have you guys on as first, but Michael's a couple minutes late, so we're gonna jump around just a little bit. A few minutes.
That's, I have no problem with that.
Okay. So what do you wanna head to next? We'll head to item
AAA today, that's fine if you wanna do that. He's not coming. He was supposed to come today, but he had something come up, so he's coming on 1/22. So he came in asking, cause his license expired on the 31st.
Yeah.
And we approved his license for 120 days. So what I did was I printed a new one, and it extends it until April 30th, 2018, which is 120 days. And that's what he's asking for until he can come into the meeting.
I don't really wanna sign it without him here, for us to be able to ask him some questions and all that. I don't know what you guys think about that. I
I
sort
don't
of
have a
rather.
problem with that.
Well, it's an extension, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're okay with doing it or not okay with it?
No,
Okay.
Cause you voted to extend it at the last meeting 120 days.
I know, but I kinda
Okay,
just wanna
okay.
make sure he comes in and, that we have a
Okay.
chance to talk to him about what's going on back there.
Okay.
You got,
It's
that's
on
cool?
hold.
Uh, yeah,
Space
so the
plan.
open space plan, we got sent this a while back, pretty, involved,
It is, no.
involved plan, but Jamie, you had some?
Yeah,
comments?
is, Bob here, Ash?
Uh,
Is anybody
He
here
is.
from the open space committee?
No, I don't think so.
No, we
Okay.
didn't know that, we could have had him if you'd asked.
Bob
Yeah, I'm
said he
sorry.
was coming per his email.
Oh, we did?
Yep.
Maybe
That
it's
should
just
be.
a-
Maybe he
on my-
could be rolling in here. We can hold off on that one too until we have the appropriate parties. No, Jassy?
There's one.
Alright, let's pass on that one for now,
Okay.
okay? I'm just jumping around. Item 6 is the streetlight removal discussion. So, this was all to do with the LED versus incandescent and wattages and all this stuff we've been talking about. And what Travis put together, which I don't know, did you put that in this packet, that spreadsheet? That
Yes, right here.
Alright, we're gonna have to scroll to
It's
find it.
after the open space then.
Impossible to read with tiny letters. After the, oh, there it is. Okay, so I looked at this, and I'm gonna try to just explain to you what's going on. So, if you look over, sort of near the middle, you see billing status, and you look down, oh, you got it, everybody got it?
Yeah, I got it.
Yeah, I got it.
You got it. Okay, so billing status, over in the middle, everybody got that?
Yep.
So that, basically, those are all the lights we have in town, says the street name on the far left and all that. We have, over the years, I'm sure boards have just turned these things on and off, like, you know, all over the place, because we got a lot of them off and a few on. So, we basically have, if you look all the way down, at the bottom, you see a number of actives. Those are, some street lighting, as well as DPW. If you look over in the customer name in the far right, see it on bottom, you see DPW, DPW, DPW. So those aren't the really ones in question here. Those are the ones that are lighting up their operations and all that. It's the other poles that we have lights on. So you can see,
7 other ones? that
yeah,
are
maybe
active?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, and Travis went around and verified all these were working or whatnot. So I guess what we put the 45 watt out on the corner of 45 watt LED on the corner of Williamsville, and the 25 watt closer here to town. I don't know if anyone's looked at it. I did go take a look at both of them. It's pretty clear difference. But so our task is leave everything the same, or it's cheaper overall in the long run to use the lower wattage LEDs because of how much power
Yeah,
they use.
yeah.
So basically the question, what we have to answer is, we do nothing, we don't want to deal with this, we don't really fully understand it, or we can say those 7 lights, you know, either 45 or 25 LED.
Didn't we talk about this before and the charge was gonna be the same? regardless of?
It's
the
a little
lot?
less because you got to
Just the
pay.
hair
Yeah,
less?
it's a little hair less. So, you know, I mean, there's the question of, are we going to just be, if nobody, you know, really cares right now, are we just messing with something we don't need to mess with? If it's not that big of a dollar thing, but it is a little bit of a savings. Travis did put those numbers together. So, I don't know.
The existing ones that are on, and just put the lower wattage LED bulbs in them.
That's what we're deciding. We want to do that.
That's what I would,
I'm for it.
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Unless we wanted to do all of them,
What do you mean all of them?
turn them all on.
No, the whole town would be
Yeah,
bright.
revolt. How many? Oh,
They are, the LEDs are significant.
yeah, lots of them. So,
But it's a 25 watt that we're leaning towards instead of the 40.
correct. Yes. No, I think that's something to do. Then there was another. It was Tom Collier was in
Yeah, I
here.
was just gonna say that, yeah, what
So-
about his?
Well, so that's up to us. So there's a light if you're coming down Brigham, right before you get to his farm on the left, at the intersection there before you go down to Old Westminster Road or continue on to New Westminster Road. There's a light right there that's not on, which is a pretty dangerous intersection. I don't know if anybody drive by the accident that just happened up there at the center of
Yeah.
town
I know
again.
the intersection.
Yeah. Anyway, so it's not as bad as that one, but it's a pretty bad intersection. So, and I looked at where it is. It doesn't look like it's going to affect anybody's sort of home. You know, it's sort of the way it is tucked in to where the light is. So I mean, you know, it was Tom's sort of request whether we discuss that or not. I'm fine with turning it on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that.
All right, I guess we'll find out which one that is exactly on here because they have the street names, but they don't necessarily have
Pole numbers.
pole number. I think it's the one like 2/3 of the way down that says New
Yes,
Westminster
that's
Road.
gonna be the one.
It's probably the one. So, do we have take a vote to turn on this pole once we figure out the right
Well,
one? This light?
we get the sense of the one you wanna turn on, even if it's not that particular one.
Okay.
So you might wanna reference it to the person's name
The
that you
John
mentioned,
Collier.
the Collier's farm, so.
Sounds good. So maybe we can make like a all-encompassing motion that has to do with changing to the 25 LED and turning that one light on.
So I'll make a motion to change the active lights to 25 watt LED and also to turn on the one near Tom Collier's house.
And can I just suggest an amendment to exclude the DPW?
Okay, yep, and exclude the DPW yard.
I'll second the motion.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
So
So Laura,
next-
can you let Travis know that?
Yes, I will.
So we got a wage authorization here?
Yes.
Yeah, I think it's to waive the time.
Genevieve Daniels, yeah.
Yeah, it was effective November 21st. I believe it are 6 months.
And what's the motion? To waive
Waive the time,
the
notice.
notification time? I make a motion that we authorize the wage authorization for Genevieve Daniels and waive the notification time, correct?
I'll second that,
Discussion? All in favor?
yes.
Yes?
Yes.
We should hold off on that open meeting law complaint,
please.
and then, until Michael gets here, and then, how about the town administrator report? You ready for that?
Yep. Okay, I'm not gonna bore you with the details, but you know that this is a busy week for the recruitment of the new town administrator. You're gonna be hearing from the search committee in a few minutes. But you have scheduled tonight not only the discussion on the presentation of the names, but the 2 interview sessions on 10 and 11, which is Wednesday and Thursday of this week. Next Tuesday, we've scheduled you for a special meeting where you'd make your selection. So you'd have the weekend to kick it around, make some calls. If you want to call selectmen in those communities, you'd be able to feel free to do that. All of the candidates have been notified in multiple occasions that this is now going to be public as of tonight, and it will be once the committee gives you those names. So we've scheduled you for a special meeting on the 16th, and then you have your regular meeting on the 22nd, and if things work out and there are negotiations that are successful, you would presumably make the appointment on the 22nd. The first day start would be dependent on the notice provision that the successful nominee
Yep.
has to give to his or her current employer.
And are you willing to stick around until that
Of course.
notice period?
Yeah, of course. And I think we'd do at least one day overlap,
Yeah.
if that's, seems to make sense. Deficit spend on snow removal, we included in your packet a memo from the DPW director, but I have an updated one. Let me find it. An updated one for you. Well, let me tell you what it says. It says that as of the storm on Friday night, you're now have another $17,000 that to the negative for materials that we've received but not yet been billed for. So we're asking for authorization to spend in deficit. We are not in deficit yet, but we expect to be before without too long, and so we're asking for the authority to spend $50,000. Those are the increments the board has been comfortable with in the past.
We sort of changed that last
Changed
year,
that.
actually. We did like 25s. We had a little different situation going on, but I don't think we have that situation going on right now.
Yeah. No.
So,
I will tell you that, I don't know if anyone else has seen them, but I got a call this morning from a gentleman, and he went on and on about how good the roads were, and then he said, "No, I want you to know, I don't live in Hubbardston." He said, "I drive through it," and he said, "I drove out of my town and drove into yours, and it was just a remarkable difference." And then we had 3 or 4 comments on our Facebook page that I also will pass out to you once we get out from underneath the burden of the material that I have in front of me.
Yeah, I think the straight salt diet is working.
Boy, it's working very well.
back of my truck's white. It's already white, but it's extra white now.
Well, see, that's why I bought a white car. I knew I was coming here. Union negotiations.
Well, do we need to vote to authorize?
Oh, yeah, I would hope.
Okay.
So I'll make the motion to authorize Travis to spend an additional $50,000.
Second the motion?
Any discussion? Just one recommendation, to deficit spend.
Is it deficit?
Yeah.
To
It
deficit
is.
spend.
And again, you're not in deficit yet.
No,
but,
no,
I mean, if the
okay,
weather were
all right, yeah. To
remarkable
deficit spend an additional
time, you're gonna
50,000.
need to.
Next thing you know, he's gonna
'Cause-
pick up.
Yeah.
Okay, it's amended.
Yes, I'll second that.
Okay, discussion? All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. Union negotiations, I just wanted you to know that where we were with, at least with the Teamsters, Local 170, the town's DPW, collective bargaining agent, we've had 2 sessions and we have 3 more scheduled. And it's my goal to finish that one positively before I leave, so the date of that will depend on the notice provision, I guess, from the successful candidate that you hire. And then lastly, we'll be giving you one non-union contract, police chief's contract. We're in the final stages of revising that, and we want you to take a look at it and see what you think.
Okay.
There's a couple of unique provisions in this one that you'll want to spend some time with.
Okay, thanks.
That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. All right, welcome.
Thank you.
So we jumped around a little bit, and we're gonna head right back to the beginning, which was the town administrator, search committee is here to, present the finalists to us. So, Jamie?
Anyone else want to join me up here? It's a big bench. See, they're all scared. No, they're not rushing. All right. Well, good evening, everyone. So tonight, as chair, I come before you to present you with our charge that you gave us to bring forward candidates for our next town administrator. And I'm pleased to report that we have a very nicely stacked deck to hand off to you. In fact, we're probably going to be making your job pretty hard to make a final decision. So I first want to thank Brian for the fact that we had a hard decision, and you guys are going to have a hard decision, because he really did a lot of work to market this job, market the town of Hubbardston, and network with professional associations that he's been a long part of, and to really get quality candidates in the door here. I mean, I think it really made the difference. So thanks, Brian, to that. And then I'd like to thank the members of the committee. We spent many long sessions together, deliberating, interviewing each candidate, deliberating about them fairly and equitably, and really coming to, I think, some good decisions for you in terms of the people that we think you should meet with.
How many did you meet with?
We met with eight of 30. Well, we had about 30 resumes that came in, and we interviewed 8 over a 2-night period. We ate lots of pizza over a couple night period. A few
Pizza and
sandwiches.
sandwiches.
Yes,
You had
yes, we did have a
different
few
days.
sandwiches, but no, we really had some outstanding candidates, and I think Ed, before I read off the names of them, I think why your decision is going to be tough is not going to be about why they're so similar, but why they're so different. These are quality people that come with very different backgrounds, very different skill sets, and I think the job for you, most appropriately, is where do you want to take this town? It's going to, I think, set the natural direction for which town administrator you want to hire of this candidate set. So, before I read off the names, are there any questions you want to ask about our process, the deliberations, things like that?
No, but I would like to say, we've been sort of kept abreast of the progress, and it was very evident how much effort you guys were putting into this. I mean, it was very evident, and I think some of that was probably bolstered by the fact that you had a strong field. You get all these resumes. You never know. Committee commitment level. If you got 7 resumes to look at, and you're trying to, it's the motivations. It's just natural. So anyway, we just appreciate everybody's work on this. I know it was a lot of work, and I'm glad we finally got here.
Yes.
And I went through these 4 over the weekend, the resumes, and it's incredible.
Yeah, we're really quite pleased. I mean,
Really.
Just as an aside, and I think it still holds true, but when we were finalizing the charter, working with the consultants from UMass Boston, their long-term projection, and they do a lot of recruitment for town administrators, and here we are doing this ourselves. They said that the long-term talent pool for town administrators is going to dwindle and dwindle fast. And so to really have such a high caliber pool we're lucky. We're I think lucky and I think good to an extent too.
Not a lot of public administration majors anymore.
I guess not.
Well, and I think it's evident, not necessarily the public administration part, but you're not going to see necessarily all these candidates come from traditional routes. So, in the way that you would say, like Brian and some of the positions that he came up through before becoming a town manager down in Holden. So, somewhat non-traditional, but again, I think high quality, high caliber candidates. So, am I okay to read the names and just summarize them really quickly?
Sure.
Okay, so the first candidate is Denise Demkoski. She's currently works for the town of Groveland, Massachusetts, which is up on the North Shore. If I remember correctly, right? We looked that one up on a map.
It's right next to where my office is.
Okay, so you can probably drive right through. On her resume, her position is finance director, personnel director, but our understanding is that's basically the equivalent of how the town manages as a town administrator. So it's just the way they're organized title-wise. But she's been doing this for the past 4 years, and prior to that was worked in the town of Swampscott. So she in working in Swampscott got to know current Governor Charlie Baker. So always a good name to have on your Rolodex. So again, I think she's served the town well. And by the way, I'll say that every one of these candidates, we did reference checks, and all of them came back positively, and we even went above and beyond the reference checks that they gave us to kind of dig around a little bit.
And this presentation is in no particular order.
No particular order. Nope, we are not ranking in any way, shape, or form. Okay? So that is Denise. Our next candidate is Candace Galmon. She's currently works in the town of Wilbraham and has been for the past 5 years. She's the administrative assistant for the town of Wilbraham. And prior to that worked for the city of Springfield for community living. Again, very strong personality. She also worked for some state senators and state reps. I mean, she's really done her time, and I think this is a good opportunity for her. Should you see fit, but very very strong candidate. She's lives fairly locally, so not too far away. And yeah, again, it's a really strong candidate. We really liked her. We liked all these candidates, I should say. So, but again, so this is someone who has worked in various municipalities or state government level for a number of years. So it comes with a lot of experience. She comes with a lot of experience in that regard. All right.
Yep.
Next candidate is Ryan McLean. So Ryan is currently he works in the city of Melrose. He has he's actually a PhD candidate in public policy. So someone who already has his Master's of Public Policy from the University of Massachusetts, and also actually of Public Policy and a Master of Public Administration from Norwich. So doing that after he completed his education at Stonehill. So Ryan is someone with distinction that we noted was a one-man crew in terms of developing his own veteran service district for the city of Melrose.
As a veteran himself. too.
As a veteran himself, yes. So a combat veteran at that. He's currently finishing up an active tour with the Massachusetts National Guard, and is also currently serving on the Groton Dunstable School Committee, of which he was just recently elected. He's also a cemetery commissioner and a VFW service officer. So again, high credentials. The reviews and just meeting with him, just very, very impressive. Okay?
Yep.
And last but certainly not least is Greg Johnson. So Greg is currently a project and procurement specialist for the town of Westford, Massachusetts. And again, this is where we get into some of the non-traditional paths that we've seen. Greg currently has a bachelor's from Norwich and a master's of public policy from Brandeis, from their schools, the Heller School, which is an excellent school. He's, like I said, he's working in the town of Westford right now. He previously worked for the Office of Administration and Finance under the Patrick administration. So again, having some state contacts doesn't hurt. In fact, I spoke personally with his manager at Administration and Finance, and he couldn't say enough about him. This is someone who's very diligent in everything that he does. He's also a combat veteran himself in the Marines, and again, just he was another impressive candidate. I just can't say enough about all four of these candidates. So, but that's it. I mean, if you can't come up with a good town administrator or a great town administrator out of that pile, out of this
It's our
stack, yeah, I quit.
Well, so a couple questions.
Yes, please.
So clearly, and I looked at some of this stuff as well, and saw the diversity in. Within the other resumes or whatnot, were there a number or any or whatever of traditional town administrators?
Yes.
Yes.
Yep. And we also had some attorneys. We had out-of-state candidates. I really think it ran the gamut, if you will. And these are ones that really just surfaced to the top based on our evaluations, scoring based on credentials and things like that, and also the interview. The interview played a big role when we decided who we wanted to interview.
And so, what was your process? We're going to be going through this process this week. Your process was to interview and then debrief, and then interview and then debrief individually.
Yes, I mean we interviewed in executive session.
Yeah.
So because it was the right thing to do, because these are candidates where it's only now their names are becoming public.
Yep.
As far as their candidacy, my understanding is you'll be in public session.
Right.
So, how you want to debrief, that's up to you guys. But that's exactly what we did. We would interview for 45 minutes, debrief, and then move on to the next interview, and then we had a final debrief on voting out who recommended you.
Assuming you had a sort of set of questions that you went through.
We had set questions, and it varied, but everyone was at liberty to ask follow-up questions. But we wanted to make sure everyone had a question to ask, but also make sure that everyone was asked the same questions at minimum. And I should mention too, forgive me for this, we did have a fifth candidate at the ready to advance to you. Her name was Angie Ellison, who was the very first town administrator of Blandford, Massachusetts. She was, you might have seen her in the paper, she just was selected for the Uxbridge town administrator position. So again, and she was someone that came from a non-traditional route. She came from the state university system. And another impressive candidate. She spoke about 4 or 5 languages and had a very keen academic mind. It was a very strong process and policy.
And just one more from me. As you said, you're done. This is your third and final town administrative search committee. But the very real possibility, or the very real situation that we have in a small town like this, is that you can be a stepping stone. Did any of those discussions come with any of your,
So I'll give you my opinion,
Okay.
and actually it was changed. So I had that concern, if you will, and certainly, there's value to having someone here for the long term, but there's also value of getting 3 really great years out of someone
agreed.
and letting them move on. So if any one of these candidates were to do something like that, I think we'd get 3 really great years out of them, and be back at the table.
Yep.
If that's what we're getting on the upside based on the size of our committee, the rate at which we pay, the benefits we offer, things like that, I think we just have to accept that as a cost of doing business. But that is my opinion. If anyone from the committee wants to share that, but my initial concern was the same as the nature of your question
Yeah.
going in.
Okay.
But after seeing this flight of candidates, my opinion was very easily changed.
Anybody else got anything else?
No.
No?
Thanks, Jamie.
All right.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks,
Yep.
guys.
Thank you.
We're done.
All right. Hooray.
And that's Wednesday, Thursday this week, right?
Yes. I'll try to be here Thursday. I can't be here till Wednesday.
We moved it to 6:30, I'm hoping to.
Yep.
6:30 and 7:30.
I have to drive to Buffalo with Gordon and hockey tournament, so I'll be driving up to Buffalo on Thursday.
Well, we're still not quite there for the poll petition, but maybe we could jump to the open space.
Sure.
Hello?
Hello, Bob Patch.
Yeah, hi Bob, how you doing?
Good,
Thanks for coming in tonight. So we pushed off, we've been jumping around all over the place, but we're gonna get to that item now as far as the open space plan,
Okay.
which we had received a while ago. So, Jamie,
Yeah, I had a chance to look through it, and there were just a few.
takes a while.
Yeah, it does.
All of it?
It does, and just like 2.2.4 basketball courts, those are complete. You may want to just update that the project has been completed
Okay.
at the Curtis Rec Field.
we can email this to you, right? I mean, we can,
Yeah, I guess.
just so you're not
Well, I
scribbling
had
the
a few
right stuff
questions
down.
also.
Yeah.
So I'd rather, it should be fairly quick.
Sure.
And then on 2.2, back up a little bit, .3, this about Mount Jeff and Malone Road. I read it said they put a culvert across, built 2 culverts in a very wet section of the Gates Hill Trail. And then it reminded me of an article that was in TNG about, from the Wildlife Management, walking trails to end under a controversial policy. You can keep it. And they just didn't want, the Department of Fish and Wildlife was concerned about activities like that on state land. And I don't know if I know this trail does go down to the state property and then come back onto town property. And that's what that article references. They don't want unapproved trails going across the state land. And
They're reducing
You remember
it to
this,
6
Jesse?
trails, I just read that,
Yeah,
is
that,
reducing it.
yeah,
that
just-
project was actually done through DCR.
Yeah.
We had an numerical crew do it.
yeah, but Fish and Wildlife is in control of the streams and any animals, or if you're crossing a wetland.
No, this is state forest property, Department of Parks and Rec.
Yeah, but Fish and Wildlife controls the animals and any fish, salamanders, because there's been instances where they'll put the culverts in, and there may be snake breeding areas, rare plants and stuff. So they wanted to discontinue some of these trails. It just bringing you the information. That's all that I noticed, and you may want to read the article. I just hate to see anything.
Yeah, but I haven't read that article, but I don't think Fish and Wildlife has jurisdiction on that property.
On Mount Jeff.
On that,
Or no,
it's
state
Mount
property,
Jeff.
state
Where
property.
those culverts were is the Hubbardston State.
Oh, it's on the
State
Hubbardston
forest.
property. Okay.
Hubbardston State
All right. I just know it crosses the state down in the back corner there.
It's all state forest. There is no Fish and Wildlife property nearby. It's all state forest.
Yeah, there is at the back. If you look at the maps, it's a state parcel. That trail comes off of. It's listed differently. It's the state of Mass owns the property. If you look at the title,
Right,
That's what she said.
it's a 300 acre. Okay,
right.
okay. One of the other sections, 3.4, table 2, the population characteristics in the permits, building permits. Let me get up here, 3.4. It says that there's an error. Right here, right in the report, it says error, reference source not found.
Oh,
So the table 2 building permit applications, and it also references the limited impact development bylaw that was passed to limit, I think it was 29 permits per year. And then we were issued 38 permits in 2004, 2005, 34 permits in '06. So I don't know if those permits are actual dwelling permits or if they're
Renovations and stuff?
renovation permits got mixed in. So you may wanna just check those numbers, because you can see a clear drop off after, '07, it was 18 permits, 13. So this low impact development that got passed,
It was also the recession.
yeah, there was a recession, yeah, but the low impact development, it got renewed, but we're not even hitting the limit for permits, we're nowhere near, the 28 permit per year limit. We're only at 2012, 9 permits for the year, so that's just some information that's, to have out there. But just back to 04 and 05 and '06, those numbers don't seem right. I don't know if they mixed in like deck permits with
you know
building
anything about that,
permits.
Jess?
I bet they're right, Jamie. I mean, keep looking back.
Well, it says error referenced source not found right in the report.
Yeah, I see.
So that's what raised the red flag.
That's just a field code update,
But-
but.
So Dan, if there was 28 permits were limited in a calendar year.
Yeah.
So in '01 that started, but in
Oh, okay.
'04 we issued 38 permits and the bylaw says 28.
Okay, you're right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I
So
get you.
it just seems a little fuzzy.
Seems weird, yeah.
Yeah.
But is that 25 building permits for new construction? Because people may get a building permit for,
Exactly. I
You
think
know,
that's
in
where they
addition
might
to-
have mixed them in. A deck permit.
right.
So they may be false numbers. I don't know.
Sure.
3.5.4. This is just information. I don't think it needs any correction, but a lot of times the topic comes up, no water and sewer in town. That limits development, but right here it says commercial and industrial land is extremely limited. Extremely limited. There's no correction, just a point of information there. 3.6.1.4.
What do you think? Just tone down the word extremely? Just
Well,
just
no,
leave
I
it-
agree with it. We don't have
Oh,
much.
okay.
I'm just saying, a
Oh.
lot of people say there's no develop. Well, that's one of the reasons. There's no industrial, very little.
Okay.
They're extremely limited, and limited. 3.6.1.4, streets and roads. You may want to just update that. It says the Heelville Road project and the Hale Road project wasn't gonna be done. Well, those have already been completed.
Yeah,
Those
we've been trying to
projects.
do this plan for a while, so some of the info is.
Yeah, we
a
get
little
it. I
outdated.
think
Yeah.
Yeah, just updates.
Yep.
In figure 3.7.2, I didn't realize the cell tower zoning is the lots that we have on. Pat, what's the land that we have up
On Ragged Hill.
Ragged Hill. That is falls under the cell tower zoning. So those lots that we were, thinking about selling.
Yeah,
Falls in so that is zoned for a cell tower.
those are
if
the
we
ones
have a-
we advertise for solar.
Yeah,
I mean,
okay.
cell tower,
Cell
Okay.
towers.
which,
And there is a few other areas on this report that show the cell zone, the zoning for cell towers, which I was surprised, I didn't realize that we had, that many spots in town for cell towers. And then, the water quality, a lot of the report is, based on water quality.
Mhm.
And 1 in 6 wells, it says, has a strong sulfur smell, which I remember my mother's well was terrible. And the Paxton formations cause naturally occurring arsenic in the wells, just, point of information. And I know that we want to protect, a lot of it talks about water quality. Well, the water already is not the greatest in town, and it says that
Oh,
in
yeah,
the report.
a lot of groundwater has got, a lot of chemicals in it. Natural
Naturally
chemicals,
occurring.
yeah.
Yeah.
Most
The-
have tons of iron and
Manganese.
manganese, yeah.
Yeah, let me just get back to the,
Mine included.
Yep, I mind.
1 minute.
And another suggestion is page 14, under streets and roads. It says, according to Tim Keelhart, Director of Public Works. We might want to just make that more generic, because Tim's been gone for a year or so. Maybe just say, according to the Department of Public Works.
All right, 4.3, the landscape characteristics. Did yours go up to 4.3?
No.
Oh, that's it? Yeah, I can't get it to download on, Selectmen yet.
No, I'm good at page 14.
Oh, that's all I got. That's what I got in the thing.
Oh, yeah.
Open space. All right, well, I'll just read from my notes here. The landscape characteristics, the map for the industrial, I don't think that's correct. If you check out that map, we've got some industrial spots that light up on the map in the report, and I don't think that they're zoned industrial anymore, because I've looked at other more recent industrial, the zoning maps, and it, like Ernie's lot, it pops up as industrial.
There's no industrial zoning in town.
Or commercial.
There's
Well,
there's a commercial, but there's no industrial.
If you look in the report, it has industrial,
Well, I'm just saying.
so that you may wanna correct that.
If you go to the GIS,
Yeah, the most recent GIS map on the town of Hubbardston website.
several locations show up
Yep.
as industrial,
Exactly.
62 and 68 and some other places.
Yeah, but like on Brigham Hill, Ernie's lot lights up as industrial, so I don't know if that still is or not, but on the map, on this report, it lights up as industrial. The, what you wanna say, the vernal pools, we have the most vernal pools of any other town in the Commonwealth. There's 311 certified vernal pools in town, so when you light up a map, they're all over town, really inhibits development. So that build out, the build out map that we have, I don't really agree with it, because there's so much restriction. There's 11,000 acres permanently protected, and it says it in the report. 11,000 acres permanently protected. And plus the vernal pools, plus you've got so many other issues, the aquifers that they wanna protect. On 4.9.6.2.1.1, the fourth paragraph, it says the town wells in Gardner. They wanna protect town wells in Gardner in that section of the report. Now, if they're calling Gardner a town, I don't know, or if they're claiming that those are town of Hubbardston wells, but what it is Gardner has, the city of Gardner has
Has wells
Snake
right there.
Pond well
Yep.
over there by the airport. And on 4.9.6.2.1.2, the fourth paragraph again, in that report it says that they want to protect the water for that well because it could harm the minority residents in Gardner. And I just feel that it could harm anybody that drinks the water, not just minorities. And I know that there's a report that lists the disparaged community and the higher population of disparaged. But still, when you drink water, it doesn't discriminate. Anybody could drink that water, not just minorities, as stated in the report. And
Well, the intent of that, like in, sometimes when people go through these open space in the developing properties, I don't know if you go into some of the cities, the higher end neighborhoods in the cities tend to get the more benefits relative to, I don't know, public land. You know, the poor areas may get a dirt place to play soccer or something. The higher end in the town gets you know, a nice ball field and tarred basketball courts and stuff like that. So they specifically, the state asked us to update the plan to get some of that kind of information into it, but I understand what
But
you're
it,
talking
you
about.
know, it says that you wanna protect their drinking water
You
by,
wanna protect it for everybody.
because of the, cause this is in reference to Pitcherville Road, the pits and
Yeah.
all that, and the
Yeah.
aquifer. But like I said, everybody drinks the water.
Yep.
Not just certain minorities.
Okay, we can,
And,
Can I interject something that is the person who wrote that?
Sure.
The intention of that statement, and I don't think it said that it's only minority people who were drinking that water, but the intention was that, as you know, a great amount of this town is protected land to protect the water inside of Boston and inside of 128, a lot of which are very wealthy communities. And a lot of this town is protected for that reason. And yet, a little while ago, we had a move to bring in contaminated dirt from Boston, which was going to be put right in the Snake Well area. It was going to drain right into the Snake Well. So, because it was in that aquifer and that watershed.
Just 'cause I don't know,
So-
with the snake well, is that what they call it for a
Yeah.
gardener?
Yeah.
In Gardner.
So it's like-
Well-
it's like-
So the point of that was just to point out that, you know, it's very easy sometimes to consider polluting an area that doesn't serve a wealthy population, but you don't wanna be polluting an area that serves a wealthy population. That's what environmental justice is all about, and that's what we were bringing up in that report.
the, that well it's 2 miles away from the aquifer. And, you know, you need 500 feet around a public well for protection, and all wells are protected.
That's zone one, that's just zone one, the 500 feet. Water comes from a lot further than 500 feet.
No, I know, but that's what they're, for a public well, that's what, you know, they require. This aquifer is 2 miles away, and the aquifer is basically already built out. The aquifer in the Pitcherville pits is already built on. There's already, the solar farm is directly on top of the aquifer. There's not much left of that aquifer to build on. And the right side is already, is all natural heritage, so nobody can build on it anyways. You know, it's wetland and natural heritage. And like I said, the solar farm sits directly on top of the aquifer. So the rest of the pits are not on the aquifer, so that is to deny a permit or anything, or any kind of building to protect the aquifer. I don't think is, you know, there's all kinds of rules to protect. The DCR is in charge of protecting the drinking water for Boston, and that's what, you know, that's why they buy a lot of the land around the ponds, lakes, and streams. And
Except this is not in the watershed for Quabbin, this is a completely different watershed. None of that water serves the drinking water for Boston. This is a watershed, the Millers River watershed, and that serves the drinking water for Gardner. And we're not saying in that report that things should be prohibited because of that, but just to be aware that that is a major drinking water supply for the city of Gardner.
And the city of Gardner doesn't have a problem developing all around the well themselves. They have an airport, it's literally within 1,000 feet, and there's probably a half a dozen, maybe a dozen airplanes parked within 800 feet of their well, and an airport runway. Route 2 is 800 feet, or 1,000 feet from the well, you know, with heavy chemicals that go down on that road. Their sewage treatment plant is actually closer to Snake Pond Well than our aquifer, that's within a mile.
Right.
And the outfall from their sewage treatment plant comes into Otter River and then runs into Hubbardston Brook. And that's within, that stream is within 700 feet of the well.
The purpose of an open space and recreation plan is to point things out that the town should be aware of.
Okay.
And that is what we are doing, is pointing out things that we should be aware of when we consider future development. I'm
Okay.
not saying that things are gonna be banned or prohibited, or that things haven't happened in other areas. This is simply drawing attention to the fact that that area of town is a very sensitive area for drinking water supply. For Gardner, for a lot of Hubbardston residents also. A lot of Hubbardston residents, so.
But like I
It's
just,
just drawing attention to
yeah,
that.
and they didn't, but Gardner doesn't have any problem developing all around. Their industrial row is within a mile of their well, and the aquifer in Hubbardston is 2 miles away. And one other question, on the dumps, it said that there was 3 dumps in town. One on New Templeton Road, one on Williamsville Road, and then one on Worcester Road. I'm familiar with New Templeton and Worcester Road, but where's the landfill on, Williamsville Road?
I don't know, Jesse, you know that?
I would have to
The-
read that report again.
No, it's in the report,
Alright, I'll double check that and take that out.
I always thought there was 2 landfills in Hubbardston, not this third one in Williamsville, I could be wrong. And that was it.
Okay. Anyone have anything else to add?
Can't keep up with that.
Oh, that's good
No,
job.
that's good,
Yes,
yeah.
I know.
That's
Thanks for
good.
the thorough review. No, I appreciate it.
Yeah, if you could summarize particularly the items that you want changed and throw them in an email to me or something, that would be
Okay.
great.
What I can
And-
do is, I'll take a copy of it and I can scan that if you want it, just like that.
Thanks.
Alright, that'd be great. And then, so from our perspective, we need, just an okay from, planning board and you guys and parks, et cetera, before our final submittal to DCR.
Yep.
And so, I'll make these updates and then get it back to you, and you can just take a look at it. Is that
Sounds
what
good.
you wanna do?
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yep, alright, that sounds good. Very good, thank you.
So Laura, maybe for our next meeting, you can put it, or when are you gonna do? Not that there's a rush, it's all up to you on when you wanna submit this thing, but should we be putting it on to a future meeting, maybe when you tell us to? Wanna do it that way?
Yeah, I can get it back to you. When's your next meeting?
The
Well,
22nd.
22.
22nd.
Yeah, no, I should be able to get it back to you by then.
Okay.
Alright?
Alright.
Yeah, you can put it on for that.
Alright.
You got a special on the 16th, but
Right, yeah, okay. Okay, anybody else have anything else for the open space, discussion here?
thank
No?
you.
Okay, thanks a lot for coming in, short notice.
Yeah. Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so we have a poll petition, Brian?
Yeah. Should be coming in, right?
Yeah, he's right here.
Oh,
Mhm.
hi. Here, sorry. So do you wanna come up and join us?
Sure.
I'm not sure if we, read the, notice, in this
Yeah.
community, do we?
I think they do.
Okay, we'll run that through.
Everybody got it in front of them?
Yep.
Yeah?
Yeah, I think we're gonna have to, at least read the,
Hillville is this one.
You wanna start it off with me reading,
go ahead, that'd be great.
and then we'll get into it, okay? Okay, let's see, set for 7 o'clock poll petition. So this is, what I'm gonna read, that's what it is, correct? This is a notice of abutters, December 12th, 2017, to all interested parties. In conformity with the requirements of section 22 of chapter 166 of the general laws, ter ed, you are hereby notified that a public hearing will be held at the office of the Board of Selectmen, 7 Main Street, Unit 3, Slade Building, of the town of Hubbardston, Massachusetts, on Monday, January 8th, 2018, 7 o'clock, upon petition of National Grid and Verizon New England Inc. for permission to erect or construct and a location for a line of wires, poles, and other such fixtures as may be necessary to sustain or protect the wires of the line for the transmission of electricity upon, along, across, or under the following public ways of said town. Hillville Road. National Grid to install one JO pole on Hillville Road beginning at a point approximately 4,338 feet southeast of the center line of the intersection of Old Princeton Road. National Grid to install one jointly owned pole 31-50, 95 feet north of pole 32 and 95 feet south of pole 31 on Hillville Road to feed new customer and eliminate an aerial trespass. Location approximately as shown on plan attached. Wherefore it prays that after due notice and hearing, as provided by law, it be granted a location for and permission to erect and maintain poles and wires, together with such sustaining and protecting fixtures as it may find necessary. Said poles to be erected substantially in accordance with the plan filed herewith marked Old Princeton Road, Hubbardston, Massachusetts. Also for permission to lay and maintain underground laterals, cables, and wires in the above or intersecting public ways for the purpose of making connections with such poles and buildings as each of the petitioners may desire for distributing purposes. Okay, so, hi, who are you?
Hi, my name's Kim Tabalay-Moa. I've been here before.
Yeah, I know.
We need to put another pole there, in between pole 31 and pole 32. We shouldn't be more than 150 feet apart with the distance of each poles with the primary on it. And that new customer can't be fed from either pole 31 or 32. We're putting an additional pole on his land.
Yep.
And,
This is where the house is being built? Is that what you're
yes,
talking about?
yes.
Okay.
It will, because if we did put it on the other poles, it would be trespassing over somebody else's. It'd be an aerial trespass over
Okay.
the abutting properties. So
So the what do I
we
just
put
read
it
there?
right in the middle, basically, 95 feet.
So, some of the boilerplate was at the end here. Basically, gives permission to lay and maintain underground laterals, cables, and wires.
None of that's going to
None of that's
happen.
happening.
No, this is just gonna be an overhead.
I just wanna point out on the plan that we see submitted here, I don't know if it affects the, validity of the hearing, but you have, 42 Hillville Road, petition to the city of Gardner, 42 Hillville Road, Gardner, Mass.
That is just mine says petition to the town of Hubbardston, so that is just a
Older version.
Older version.
typo or older version.
Okay.
This is the corrected one.
What's the date on that one?
That, I don't think that when it's corrected, the date changes, 11/30/17.
Okay,
Do you wanna see this?
sure. Okay.
The customer's going underground to the pole on his property, and he's coming up, and we'll go overhead from there.
Okay. Okay. Anybody got any further questions?
I'll make a motion to approve the poll petition as submitted.
I'll second that.
Discussion? All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
All right, next is our open meeting law complaint. We did the
We did
streetlights,
that.
yeah. All right, so, everyone's seen this?
Yep.
So, open meeting law complaint from Elaine Thompson dated December 18th, 2017. And we're here tonight to acknowledge receipt of the complaint, which is acknowledged, consider possible responses thereto, and vote to resolve the same. So there's a certain amount of days you have in responding to open meeting law complaints, and we got an extension, which I think was also emailed out at some point too. We got an extension to, I forget which date that was. Do you remember? We got an extension for response so that we could discuss it and didn't have to rush to a new meeting, you know, because we got so much stuff coming up.
Friday, January 26th.
Okay, Friday, January 26th, so, so, you know, I've had some discussions, with town council, on how to proceed, and, basically, it was submitted 2 years after the incident. Alleged violation, which was this is all discussion about Christmas tree menorah stuff on between the town center committee when the menorah was purchased, and then in the more recent discussions, the highly publicized in Hubbardston nativity scene that we went through, you know, this winter, and basically it's a complaint that's alleging that it was discussed outside of, you know, open meeting.
Well, and the fact that this complainant is saying that in November 2015 that the board intentionally hid the purchase of the menorah to hide it. Well, yeah, I believe this was done intentionally so the public would not know who purchased the menorah. However, it was purchased by the Board of Selectmen.
Right, which
And
is,
Nobody ever hid it. It was discussed in meeting.
Yep.
Everyone's always said who purchased the menorah. No one ever.
so I'm on the town center committee too, and the town center committee, who hasn't discussed it yet, and so I'm not gonna discuss it here either, as far as, you know, what to do about the town center committee's, open meeting law complaint, but there were further, items in that complaint that were just wrong. So as far as dates and what was included and what wasn't, so we'll have to cross that bridge when we come to it. We have a meeting in a couple weeks, and we sort of go from there, but anyway, it's town council has drafted up a response, which is pretty simple. Basically, it's to the point of that you have a certain amount of days to submit one of these, and it happened 2 years ago, so it's sort of baseless. So,
I was going to say this is this is a reporter from the TNG, the Elaine Thompson.
Yeah.
And I'll have to say, I told you guys. I mean, when she called me on the phone to talk about
Called me too.
about the whole menorah thing, she said that isn't it true that me, meaning me,
Yeah.
and Anita Shipers decided secretly to purchase the menorah to just advance the Jewish agenda we have in town. And I said, I am no longer discussing anything with you, that this is out of bounds for a reporter to be asking me, and I can't imagine the TNG would even like this line of questioning. And it was really an odd and disconcerting conversation.
She was
I had
asking
with
me
her. She was-
if Anita was Jewish, and I said, "Is her married now? I don't really want to discuss. I don't know." And then when Ray Ann was on the board, it was Mike came out of it saying, "This is personal. This is not a.
This is
personal."
for whatever reason this reporter had a personal. I mean, the fact that is it true that you're trying to advance a Jewish agenda in town? I mean, come on.
So anyway, least surprising thing was to receive this from her.
Yeah, this is.
But,
this
but
is
I
insane.
think that, prior to this, and this bothers me too, is that, the reporter's running with something that was insinuated by someone in the town who brought the information to the reporter. And now it bothers me because we saw that when we had some difficulty with the planning board with the Gardner reporter. They're trying to make a story where there is no story.
Really isn't much story.
And I think it bothers me that that is going on in this town. But I think that's what she's done here at the Telegram. I think whoever was giving information to her was insinuating those things, Mike. And now this woman is trying to run with a story that there is no story.
Or she's just creating her own thing.
Well, I
Who
think she
knows,
was.
you know?
It was. I mean, I had 2 conversations with her 2 nights in a row, and the second night was when I hung up on her. But I mean, her questioning the second night clearly was this was a very very personal
Yep.
thing for her that there was a problem with Jewish people, which is really gross in today's day and age.
Yep. So I don't know if everybody's been given the draft yet from Copeland and Page. No, I think that was on purpose because we're going to discuss how to sort of proceed there. So I've seen a draft. I think if we want to decide tonight to sort of receipt, because we could come up with our own as well, so we could authorize, I guess, them to sort of send us the draft for our review, and then at our next meeting we can vote to have them send it in by January 26th.
Okay.
All right?
So it'll be on the 22nd then.
On the 22nd. Okay. Committee updates. QEMP task force. We had a meeting last week. The CMRPC is well organized machine who is going to move through this process of contacting all the towns individually, setting up meetings. A survey is going to be distributed soon. And I know I've talked about it a few times with the 4 different points that they're going after, which is the Quabbin educational and municipal partnership, very different than any school closings or consolidation discussions that went on long before. This is all about the health check of all the towns as, individually and then as a whole as a region, and how to move forward there.
Will they be involved in the search for the superintendent?
No, that's a separate
That's a separate
issue.
one.
Yeah, this is just they're pretty laser focused on what they're doing. They have different. So QEMP.info is our website, and what it's got is got the makeup of the QEMP, formerly the task force. It's got a survey that's has to do with a lot of different parts of the town as well as school systems. From what people know, it took me like 10 minutes to finish it. You don't. It's not one of those surveys you have to finish every question to. If you don't want to answer something, you don't answer it. You can sort of move on. It's pretty user friendly, and these guys are really experienced in this. So I don't know, just it's on its way. It's continuing on. So the town center committee, we haven't had a meeting in 3 or 4 months because we haven't had much to talk about. But after long ado, we finally received the 25% design drawings, which I think we have a couple sets
Right there.
right here. Okay, we have a couple sets here. Plus we have electronic, but it's massive. It's a designed job. I mean, it's 25%. You do all the survey, you do all the drainage calculations, do everything. It's just hadn't been fine-tuned yet, and it's the right time for a comment to come in. So we have a public information session at our next town center committee meeting, which is Thursday, 18th or something like that?
I don't know when yours is.
Yeah. I'm going to have to say that correctly, so just give me 1 second. Yes, Thursday, January 18th. And the first item of business will be to discuss our open meeting law complaint for Town Center Committee. And then the second order of business is going to be to get a presentation from TEC with, hopefully good attendance and residential discussions, because once we go a little bit further, we're gonna be getting to a point where you can't really change, you know, but now you've got things like curb cuts on Main Street in front of my house, or in front of my business, or whatever else. That's the sort of stuff that they need to hear. They're totally receptive to changing stuff. It's just if they don't know, and somebody else is designing a job, you know, it gets built. Yes?
Is there any way to put it on the web or, on the town website, or you said it was too big?
No, it can go on there.
Yeah,
The meeting, or not the plans?
the plans.
Yes, they can, because
Oh,
it'll be a
you
link
have-
to like a
Oh, okay.
Dropbox or something like
Yeah.
that, something like that.
So if you,
I think what Dan's saying there,
That,
like the typical construction.
yeah, it's gonna end up being PDFs, but it's gonna be instead of just a file PDF, it's gonna be a link to like a Dropbox that you don't have to log into or anything. You just download. So
if you send me the link,
I'll
I'll
send
put
you
it on
Sounds good.
Facebook and I'll put it on the, thing. Where is the meeting gonna be, so I can,
it's gonna be right there, Senior Center.
okay, thank you.
And can we televise that?
I can tell Brittany, yep.
You can just tell her to set up. She doesn't have to be there.
Yep.
That's what we did last time, I think. So anyway, the next things that we'll be discussing for Town Center Committee is how to get more money to move on with the design, similar to what we did last time. The last two times, 25,000 for the schematic and then 75,000 for the 25% design, is come back to the select board and say, hey, this is what we can get for this amount more, and just keep the ball rolling if we want. So
I think it's great, Dan, the work that you guys have been doing, the town
Mhm.
center committee, and it's just gonna look fabulous when it's finally done. And then when we get 68 South, get that bridge done.
Yep.
And then all the way to Gardner. I mean, it's gonna be fabulous.
You know, and I went to a meeting, I might have emailed you guys this, but I went to a meeting with the Mass DOT in Worcester with the lead engineer, senior principal at TEC, and then Arthur Frost and somebody else in Worcester. And they knew the project so incredibly well. One of them lives in Barry, one of them, you know, they were just talking about like, hey, this is gonna happen. You guys are approved. You have a project number. You're not approved yet. You know, you got to get to this 25% design is really important to getting that. Once this is submitted, which it is now, submitted to the state, they then, you know, go through it all. And once that's approved, then we get like the next phase of an approved project. So then you have to continue on with design before they'll actually expend the money for it. But you know, it all seems like, you know, between north and south and 68 and bridge and this eventually, you know, and it's not like, you know, anything, it's just nicer. You know what I mean? It's not like we're doing anything fancy. It's just like,
Facelift.
it's facelift. So
It'd be
anyway.
nice to have the, you know, new sidewalks too for the kids and
Oh, yeah.
to get up to the rec
And
field
connecting up
safely,
to the rec field, coming
crosswalks,
down Elm Street, yeah, all that stuff.
signage, striping.
Yep.
Bike lane.
Lots of discussion about bike lanes, my goodness. So anyway, that's the town center update, and then bylaw review committee, nothing?
I have nothing.
Nothing. All right, so we got a bunch of minutes.
Dan, just so we
Yes,
can
of
leave.
course.
We came about the AAA, did you discuss that already?
We did. We
Oh.
we punted till because he wasn't going to be here, so I wanted him to be here,
Yeah.
so he's going to be here on the 22nd, and we're going to put it back on.
Oh, okay.
On the 22nd, okay, but unfortunately we can't be here on the 22nd. We were expecting it to be tonight, so
He was supposed to be tonight, and he came in last Tuesday or Wednesday and said that he could not make it.
After he found out your vacation schedule.
Yeah, must
so
What's AAA?
John's
Get your car
John's on.
fixed.
Oh.
so it's going to be at a time when the abutters can't be here.
We'll just wait for the next week meeting after that.
We can do
Can
that.
we do that?
Yeah.
The
That
problem
would be
is-
really helpful.
But,
With-
but you're operating under no license at
He
this point.
can't operate without a signed license, and that's why he was asking for the 120 day. He can't do business.
You may wanna revisit the
So I don't
120,
know.
and then you can have it whenever you can get
I
people
don't
together.
have a problem with 120, but
It's-
there was going to be discussion, I thought, of
Or you can do it shorter if that's something that you wanna revise.
Why
you
don't we
know.
just do it till that next meeting in the early February?
Well, then why don't you do 60 days,
60
in case
days.
you have, end up with
And
a
I can
different
print out a
schedule.
different license and you all can sign
Okay.
it before you leave.
Good, we'll do that.
That's fine.
That sounds good.
thank you.
You'll be available then?
Yeah, we'll make sure.
Whatever that date
At
is.
least 60 days would
February
push it out if we go through December. I mean, he could make one in February.
Yeah, no, no,
for
makes
them
sense.
as well.
Yeah, so that first meeting would be in February then,
Tonight.
right?
Yeah, you could make it 16.
It expired though, so if he's been
So,
doing business
July
with that,
the
yeah,
31st, so.
yeah,
So what do we just decide?
until February, what, 28th
Eight.
or 28, yeah.
February 28th.
We'll extend it to them.
No, that's not our meeting. That's
No.
we're extending the permit temporarily so that he's operating.
Okay.
Our meeting,
We're trying for the 22nd of.
No, the next one,
No,
so
the
whatever the
next one,
2
'cause
weeks
they'll be
after the
gone.
22nd is.
I'm gonna
It's the
find-
5th.
5th, I was gonna say.
Fifth?
February 5th, yeah.
So I'll,
Oh, we can't do that. Yeah, we'll do that.
Okay, well,
so do they need a motion to extend it to them?
I would say.
yeah.
So I'll make a motion to extend the, was it the Class 2 auto license?
Yeah.
From December 31st to February 28th.
Just like that.
Second the motion?
Discussion?
Just like that.
All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, minutes.
Famous words, as presented.
So Yana, you'll be notified of that?
That's what we get
Yes.
for coming late.
Oh, I didn't know you were staying there the whole time.
Well, you have to jump around the agenda because, you know, we just were trying to. fit it
No,
in.
we just came in.
We are doing like 8 minutes,
If the minutes and then.
and
executive
then
session.
old business, public press and question, and then executive session.
Just a question on the minutes, have you approved all the executive session?
Yeah.
There's one on the list, but
Which one is it?
December
December
11th.
11th.
Oh, if there's one of the, if you tell me which one it was that you're looking for, I can let you know. She has this,
I don't have it
okay,
by
just,
date.
do you know what it was in regards to?
I'll look it up and
And just come and talk to me.
make a
Yep.
request.
Yeah, just, or come in and talk to me if, we'll
Super.
figure it out.
Thank you very much
Yeah.
for your help.
Yeah, not a problem.
Yeah. I understand.
All right, minutes for December 11th, in open session. Dan, Jeff, Patton, and Jamie were there.
Make a motion to accept the minutes of the meeting of December 11th, 2017.
I'll second that.
Jamie, the motion was made to approve December 11th meeting, which you were at, and was seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Yes.
Abstain? Okay, so then there's the executive session for December 11th.
Make the motion to accept the minutes of the executive session on December 11th, 2017.
I'll second that.
Discussion? Roll call? Jamie?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Yes.
Yes.
Abstain.
Okay, I don't even know if we have to do that, but. And then the next one is, May 1st, 2017.
Well, these go back a ways, huh?
These were all the ones that she had left, so I've caught them all up. There's one more that you'll have to approve next week.
I'll make the motion
But it's
to
done.
approve the minutes of May 1st, 2017.
4 of us were there. Jamie, you were not there.
Second the motion?
Discussion? All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Abstain?
And
I'll make the motion to approve the minutes of April 18th, 2017.
Okay, this was just Dan, Jeff, and Pat.
Yeah, I'll second the motion.
Discussion? All in favor?
Yes.
Yes? No, you're abstaining.
No, abstain, I'm sorry. I was looking at the next one.
This is,
April
April
3rd.
3rd.
I'll make the motion to approve the minutes of April 3rd, 2017.
Second the motion?
No, you weren't there, Pat.
Yeah, I thought I
Oh,
was.
I'll make the motion to accept the
April 3rd?
meeting,
Yeah, you were.
yeah, April 3rd, 2017.
I missed.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
We should just change the meeting time to 6:47, because it says arrived at 6:47 all the time, including tonight.
That's about when I can get out of work, that's it.
Okay, I'll make a motion to accept the Board of Selectmen minutes for the meeting of March 22nd, 2017.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Any discussion?
I arrived late.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Yes.
Abstain.
That is what, the 22nd, what we got left? March 6th.
Okay, 21st.
Make a motion to accept the meeting, yeah, the minutes, the meeting of March 6th, 2017.
Second it.
Discussion? All in favor?
Yes.
Abstain.
And then the last one is February 21st, right? Make a motion to accept the meeting minutes of the February 21st, 2017 meeting.
Second it.
Discussion? All in favor?
Yes.
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 All right, well, that's the minutes. Thank you very much, Lori.
You're welcome.
Any old business anyone has they wanna bring up?
I just wanna commend the DPW. Done a great job in these storms. The roads never look better.
Yes, great.
So, yeah, it's like
Of
night
course,
and
we're
day.
burning through our money, but
Yeah.
I was waiting for that memo to come out, you know what I mean? It's just a certain inevitability when we've had, and we've heard over the years, it's not just the big storms by any means, it's those little sloppy
little
ones.
things, like
that
they're out
just-
tonight,
Right.
you know, salting.
Yeah,
But
icing is as expensive as moving stones.
I don't remember it being this cold this long, like in my
No.
life.
Set records.
Yeah, it did.
It broke a record over 100 years old.
But they've done a great job. They've worked hard. The roads have looked fantastic, and
Yeah.
you know,
Getting a lot of
kudos to them.
positive comments from
Yeah.
folks.
And we're gonna have a lot less sweeping in the spring with this,
I noticed it on the driveway now. There's no sand. It's not
my
being carried
garage
now,
is
so-
usually like full of sand, nothing.
Nothing,
Just
yeah,
the salt.
which is really nice.
So that'll save money too.
Yeah.
for the-
Yeah, you don't have to
Yeah.
sweep as much.
Sweep and
Disposal of the
load and
sand.
dispose, and yeah, all that
That's
stuff.
some of the most expensive costs for some DPWs is the cleaning of the sand, maintenance of the
And then
road.
don't forget that puts another guy back into the crew
Yeah,
early in the season that they
yeah,
can,
they're back to work sooner. You're not hauling that stuff all over. You know, absolutely frees up the
No,
equipment.
they've done a good job.
Didn't we just buy a new sweeper?
Well, they're rebuilding.
Oh, they
it.
rebuilt? That'd be typical.
Oh, that one was moving.
Can I mention two things out of turn while you're asking for? We did get a copy, and I'll pass it around, a copy of the restitution check from the settlement on the pension.
Okay.
Okay? And then we also received a contribution of $100 to the town of Hubbardston appreciation for the town's commitment to open space conservation from East Quabbin Land Trust.
They had
Okay.
a copy of that,
Okay, you already had that one? Okay.
so I gave it to him.
This goes into the general fund.
Oh, yes. Let's, without designation, if there was a gift fund established, it could go there, but we don't have one, so.
Okay, public press, question and answer? No?
No one here.
Nobody?
No story to run with.
Well, Frosty?
Frosty doesn't appear to have anything.
He's happy. Okay, well, next will be executive
Motion.
session.
Move to adjourn from the open meeting and moving into the executive session meeting, after which we will have no intent, we'll come out and have no intent of going back into a open meeting.
Okay, you wanna maybe read that?
Oh, I'm sorry,
Executive
you
session.
should have done that first.
That's all right.
Oh, part of my motion?
Yeah.
Okay, I move to adjourn the open meeting and move into executive session pursuant to General Laws C-30A, Section 21A, Purpose Number 3, to discuss strategy with respect to litigation if an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the litigating position of the public body, and the chair so declares
Declare.
that an open session would have a detrimental effect. Specifically, the board will be discussing strategy with respect to the town of Hubbardston versus Melanson Health Company, U.S. District Court Civil Action Number Case 4-17 CV dash 40105-TSH.
Okay.
And when we come out of executive session, we will not be moving back into open.
I'll second that.
Okay, Jamie?
Guys, yes.
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. All right, that's down.